Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Patty. I go by Pattymac Makes everywhere online. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to sew a really cute little scrappy patchwork tree block. I'm using this finished tree block in two projects. I made a really cute little wall hanging. I use them as a door quilt. I put quilts on my front door. I think it looks cute. It suits my personality as a quilter. And it's a great fun way to change out the decor as I welcome people to my home. A lot of people will do a wreath, I do a quilt. I also took that same quilt top and I made a really cute pillow. So this little quilt top is really fun. You can just make one block and have a couple of different projects. And I mean, you could even take it and make like a tote bag. You could do all kinds of stuff, but I'm gonna show you the quilt and the pillow. I should say, I'm going to show you how to put the tree together. The actual projects are on my blog and I will link to those below. I'm calling this really cute tree block the Carolina Pines tree block. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. As I'm filming this, it is right before Christmas and I really needed a fun and easy Christmas project, and this was it. This little tree block, it's scrappy, it's super easy. It lets you practice getting your points where they should be, getting your points on point. And it's just cute when you're done. And it's a quilt project that you can make literally in an afternoon. So let's jump in, and in this video, I'll show you how to piece that block. And if you want to go ahead and make the full-on quilt or the pillow, you can check out the rest of the directions on my blog. Okay, let's jump in. Let's talk about the pieces you'll be cutting. You're going to cut this piece, which will be your tree. These two pieces will go on either side to make the tree shape. You could consider it your sky if you wanted to, but it could be any color. This is the tree trunk, and then generally you're going to have this part of your block match this part of your block. So that will construct the tree itself. Then we're going to put this little border to set everything off. And then the sashing will go all the way around the outside. All of that together will make one complete mini quilt top that you can sew either into the pillow or the wall hanging as shown. The first thing that we're going to do is make markings on the outer pieces and on the tree piece. So let's take a look at that. We're going to make some markings on these three blocks, and then we're going to subcut, and then we can piece our actual tree piece together. And so the way it'll go is we'll subcut these, we'll piece this part of the block, and then we'll piece this part of the block together, which is easy. We're just going to piece these three. And then when this is pieced and this is pieced, we'll sew these together, and that will complete our tree. So let's go ahead and dig in and look at the subcuts. We'll start with the sky pieces, or the outer pieces that go with the tree. And what we're going to do is put our fabric right sides together. Now, it doesn't matter so much with this because it's a solid, but if you had a print, you would want to turn everything right sides together and get everything nice and lined up. Okay, that's your first step. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do a diagonal from this corner down, but we're not going to go right to the corner. We are going to do something a little bit unusual, and we're going to mark in at 1/4 of an inch. And what I like with this little Creative Grins ruler is that it has the 1/4 inch marked for me. So all I have to do is lay it on there, and then I'm going to use my disappearing ink pen and make a mark. We're ready to subcut, and we're going to take the quilting ruler and we're going to go from this diagonal to just this side of the mark that we made. And what that will wind up doing is giving you this little tab at the bottom. So then we'll open it up, and this is what is going to go around your tree. But it would go this way. Like that. We also need to subcut our tree fabric, and we're going to fold that wrong sides together. So we'll be looking at the right side of the fabric. And on this one, we're going to mark in at the top a 1/4 inch in. So we'll lay our ruler just to that side, the inside of the mark, and then we'll come down and line it up in that corner. And then we're going to subcut. And then you wind up with a little tab at the top of your tree. So here are the pieces all together that we just subcut, and what we're going to do then is lay right sides facing, and we'll just line up along this long line. This is fussy. You want to get it right, because when you get it right, that's when you'll get your points. So I'm going to secure. And I'm going to take it over to the machine, and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam all the way up, and I will be right back, and we'll take a look at how that is. Okay, our first side is on, it's all pressed out. I'm going to now add the second side. And we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to attach it all the way down the side. I'm going to take it to the machine and stitch it, and I will be back and show you what we're looking for at the top. Okay, we've got our sky piece attached to our tree piece, and what we're looking for is that we have this outer fabric with like a 1/4 inch seam allowance up here. This is really important because this is how you're going to get your point when you assemble everything. What we'll do is we'll nip off the dog ears. So here's our tree piece, and I've pressed it out, and I want you to see that I have like this 1/4 inch space of fabric at the top of my tree, and that's exactly what you want, because that is the seam allowance that we need for when we put our sash around that will allow us to have a point on our tree. So that is just as it should be. So our next step is we're going to piece, this is actually the bottom, but we're going to just put right sides together this way and stitch that line, and then I'll open it up and do the other side and press it, and I'll show you that, and then we're going to attach it to the tree. To our tree block, we're ready to add the lower part with the tree trunk, and I'm just going to place right sides together, 1/4 inch seam along here, and then the block itself for the tree will be together. The tree block itself is all together, and you can see that I have extra, what looks like extra fabric here and here, and not as much here. There's always going to be a wonky corner, but what you want to do is when you're piecing your border on, which we're going to do next, we'll call it a sashing on this for this particular block. What we want to do is stay to just this side of the stitch, and that's how we'll keep the points. So for this one, I decided to go with the blue. I picked the blue because it's, you know, it's kind of loud, and we're not going to miss it, and you'll really be able to see everything kind of set off here. So what I'm going to do is first stitch on what we call north and south, and this is like very low-key. I'm just going to place it on there about where it's going to go and trim it, and I'll take it to the machine, and I'll first put these on, press it, and then I will put on the east and west. So when I get all that on, I will meet you back here and show you what that looks like. There's our block with that first little border around it, and I'm going to go ahead and do the second border just so it looks exactly like the piece on the wall hanging and the pillow. And you're just going to do the same thing. You're going to fit on your strips north and south. You're gonna have a little bit of waste on either side, so just cut that off, save it. You can cut it down to little squares and save it in your scrappy pile. So it's just the nature of the way the measurements of the piece and the fabric run. So okay, I'm just going to piece on north and south and east and west, and I'll meet you back here and I'll show you what it looks like on the wrong side of the project, because that's important also. And here's our beautiful finished tree block, and I just love it. So I think it's fun to use a solid, like a little border piece here, because it just really does give you some separation from your tree block and your outer sash. And this is the exact piece that I used in both the quilt top for the small hanging quilt and also the quilt top that I used on the pillow project. Exactly the same. The tree block, the 1.5 inch border, and the 2.5 inch sash, and that's your whole project. I did fusible quilt batting, and then I did stitch in the ditch, and I stitched here and here on these outer lines, and then I just traced my tree. That's all I did for my quilting. You could do whatever you like. You certainly have space in here. If you wanted to get into a little free motion quilt, you could do that. I personally stick to stitch in the ditch. That's where I'm comfortable. So yeah, that's how you put that together. And I want you to notice that I have nice sharp points here and here, and I missed it a little bit here. And I'm not going to lose my mind over that. That just kind of seems to happen a lot of times on your some of your blocks, so don't let that stop you. Just keep going. I still think it's a cute block. And that's how you put that block together. Isn't that fun and easy? The hardest part, I think, of this project is cutting all the pieces, because it's, you know, it's not a lot of pieces, but it's certainly more pieces than a 4-patch. And you do have to be mindful of those little 1/4 inch cuts on the tree portion itself. But other than that, it's a pretty easy block. It's super satisfying when it goes together, and I personally really like putting that border around the block itself. But I thought that little frame separating the block from the border, I thought that really worked well. So I do recommend that you go ahead and do that if you decide to make these projects. So that's what I've got. I hope that it is something you can squeeze in while we're still in the 12 days of Christmas, which actually runs through January. I know in America we always think of the 12 days of Christmas as leading up to Christmas, but really around the world, Christmas goes on through the Epiphany in January. So you've got plenty of time to make this little project. Okay, that's really it. Okay, that's all I've got for you. I sure appreciate you watching. I hope that you will try to make this little tree block yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.